ahead and click under Business Intelligence. Perfect. Yep. So perfect. So once you click on that second hyperlink to actually take you into the product, you'll be presented with a few things. And this may be redundant, this may not be redundant for some of the users on the call who have BI experience, but as a result of UKG updating to IBM Cognos Analytics, we have a little bit more of a different look and feel to what's depending on other IBM Cognos versions that you may be looking for. This landing page right here is the default, and this could be turned off from a individual profile perspective, or you can dismiss it. If you want to turn this off, Jordan, from your profile perspective, all that you simply need to do is go up to the right-hand side where it says show welcome, and there's a little blue toggle switch. You can turn that off. And it just, in my opinion, it's fluff. It's the IBM Cognos Analytics cover page that you can keep or not. I personally enjoy working with this page. This page shows you the recent reports that you have either built, configured, or run under your profile. So you'll always see what you've played with most recently out here. Making sense so far, everybody? I am also the type of person, when I do these demonstrations and overviews, I run them very informally. So if you have any questions, you have any comments, you have anything that you want me to take a deeper dive, please don't hesitate to speak up. I want to make sure that everybody's getting the most out of this presentation. So very informal in style. Okay. So over on the left-hand side, you'll see some navigation. You'll see a search feature. You'll see a My Content feature, a Team Content feature, and then Recent. So let's talk about what each of these attributes do. So Jordan, if you can hover over the search. So the search allows you to type in any keyword searches. So this will query against all report names that you have within your environment, from both delivered reports from UKG Pro's perspective, or any reports that you and your team may create in the subsequent folders. So this does pull based off of naming conventions from both a folder structure perspective and an individual report perspective. Okay, the My Content tab. So the My Content folder is, when you click on this, think of this as your personal repository for any reports that you personally create. This is not a public folder. This is more of, think of this as your C drive, your personal C drive within Business Intelligence. Pluses and minuses to using this section are, from, if you were building from an HR perspective, let's say you're building a confidential report with EEO information and vets information and date of birth and other very important PII or HIPAA related information, and you don't want this to be utilized by the masses, you can create this report and save it under the My Content section. Likewise, if you are building a report and it is not ready for group consumption and you want to treat this as your development folder section, you're welcome to do so in that instance until you've worked out the kinks with your report and you're ready to put it out into a more public folder area. So the public folder section is under what's known as the Team Content section. So whenever you get into the Team Content section, it's a little bit more, there's a little bit more robustness associated with it. So you have a couple folders already present in here. So you have the UltiPro BI content, the UltiPro BI resources, UltiPro sample reports section, and then the ZZ company folder. The ZZ Company folder section is the area in which you will publish your reports from a public perspective within anybody who has access to business intelligence within your organization. So think of this as the shared folder section. BI content, this is, Jordan, if you can go ahead and click on that section. BI content. First one, yep. Click on BI click on that folder. Yep. So these are areas that are delivering standard alerts, dashboards, packages, and reports. So alerts, dashboards, and reports are things that UKG has already pushed into your environment. These are very standard reports that you can use as a baseline starting point, an alert that could be used as a baseline starting point, or a dashboard as well that you can add on to. So these are reports that every client of UKG get within their BI environment. The delivered packages section. So for those of you who are familiar with business intelligence, the way that they take the product and tie it back to UKG Pro is they really break it down based on table structures in various packages. There are probably about 35 packages that govern how BI operates. They are they range from very simplistic packages. So the My Employee package, Jordan, if you can go ahead and click under the delivered report packages section. Yep. So you can see all the various packages that are out here. So you have the administrator, audit, benefit, employee related information, but that one here in the middle that says My Employees. Yep. This is, if you are a, don't click on it actually. Hit your little yep, hit that little button. Go back into your packages. Perfect. Good job navigating. So if you just scroll down to that My Employee package again. So the My Employee package, this is the most simplistic package within the BI realm. This mirrors the exact setup of an employee profile in terms of the various tabs and sub-tabs as it relates to UKG Pro when you're doing from either a manager perspective or an admin perspective and you're pulling up the employee, you're going to have a one-to-one correlation. So if you are new to BI and you're not familiar with how the data is going to be housed, where the data is going to be housed, and how the data will be extrapolated, I strongly recommend that as a first-time user, you start with the My Employee package because it is geared to be very simplistic and really be that one-to-one. I also tell my clients whenever they're playing with BI and learning it for the first time, use your record, query against your personal data because you understand your data first and foremost compared to another employee's set of data or another group of employees set of data. Querying against your personal data first and foremost will be the most logical so that you're able to see where everything is coming from within the various tables. Now, there are other packages that are out here that are payroll related and that are audit related and that are administrative related. One thing that I want to point out to you is under the payroll one, if you can just scroll down for me. Perfect, where it says payroll pre-check package. So a lot of times clients want to create various related reports to help them with their auditing purposes during the payroll process. One unique thing about the payroll pre-check package is this package can only be used when an active payroll is open. The reason why this package can only be used when a payroll is active is because it's pointed to look at the temporary batch tables that are used during that payroll process. So you may recall when you go out, create a payroll, you start your payroll process, it creates, one of the steps is it creates batches. So it creates a temporary set of holding tables so that you're able to process your pay information in that fashion, but also simultaneously, you're still able to go in and do regular employee maintenance as needed. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. If you are a more advanced BI user, I would recommend, Jordan, if you can scroll all the way up to the top for me, the administrator package. The administrator package is, think of this as the all-encompassing report package within BI. So you're able to, what this package does is it pulls all the other packages that are subsequently listed below into one master. You might still have to do joins and unions to actually query the data in an appropriate fashion, but this is the package that encompasses everything. Okay. Anytime that you're also working with a package that has history associated with it, history tables are a little bit more tricky and a little bit more advanced from a BI perspective. And what it will do is, as you're querying for the various employee data against a history table, if there are multiple lines associated with the employee's record of history, so let's say they had a job change back on 1/1 of 2020, then another one on 1/1/2021, and then you had another record on 7/20/2022, there would be 3 lines of job change information pertaining to that specific employee. And anytime you query against a history table, you need to tell the system whether or not you want to query all the history data, or if you only want the max history, which would pull the most recent history change associated with an employee record. Or if you need to run a date range, you would still be able to run all the history for that date range. So just some tips and tricks here, again, because this is just a super high level overview. Hopefully those of you who have BI experience know how BI operates, but has also taken the various learning courses that UKG Pro does offer under the realm of business intelligence. They have sessions that are great for novice, intermediate, and more advanced users. So highly encourage you to take those various training as needed. Training is free from UKG's perspective. You're not charged for it, and you can take it as much and as often as you need. Okay. Any questions related to packages? Okay. Jordan, if you can still go under team content for me and just click on that again. Yep, we'll just refresh it. Actually, I lied. Sorry. Go back up to your lawyer. Yep, exactly. Now, hit your arrow, hit your little back arrow a few more times. Okay. One more. Perfect. Okay, so we talked about the BI content. The BI resource tab, if you click on that, Jordan. So this just gives you some aids in terms of, okay, if you want to know the learning path, this is how, from a BI perspective, this is just another tool for you in that perspective. If there are any references, go ahead and click on that for me, Jordan. This is just giving you some tips and tricks on how to create basic dashboards and do some basic configuration, especially with alerts and dashboards, how to create, modify scheduled reports. These are commonly things that you can do and that other customers do on a frequent basis within this product. So this is just some tips and tricks in case you forget on how to do that, or if you need to know how to do it from a unique UKG Pro experience. I can tell you, if you have BI experience from other products, there is probably a 95% one-to-one relationship with that past experience. There's a 5% differential, what I'll call a differential, in where there is some uniqueness to how UKG has set up BI in terms of the tables, in terms of how the joins will operate, and how the data ultimately will query. Okay, Jordan, if you can hit that internal back button again. Okay. If there are any resources related to the upgrade that you're looking for, you would click on that upgrade section. And then a lot of times as you're building reports, you may get an error message, or you may get a data item that is not pulling correctly, and you may want to do some troubleshooting. This kind of falls under that 5% rule that I just mentioned. A lot of times the error messages that are reported within Cognos from UKG's perspective don't necessarily tie back to the standard IBM Cognos notifications. So there might need to be some additional support needed, you may need to reach out to your UKG support team, which I'm not sure if you've been transitioned or not to that group yet, but they would be the ones that would help if you're not able to triage the error message that you are receiving within your query. Okay, Jordan, if you can hit your internal back button again. Okay, the sample report section, if you can go ahead and open that up for me. So this section is just another launch portion that takes you into a lot of the reports that UKG has pushed out for, to all of us clients. So there are very baseline HR reports out there that govern demographic information, veteran information, EEO information. There are standard payroll reconciliation reports that help query data from both a pre-check perspective, but from also a payroll history perspective. There are general ledger reports out there. There are benefit related reports out there for both your option rate type benefits, so like your medical, your dentals, and your visions, or your supplemental life insurances, ones that are built around an age graded rate table as well. So there's the system comes preloaded with around, I believe it's around 350 to maybe 400 standard reports. So I encourage you, when you have a few extra minutes, to really comb through those reports and see what's out there, see how the data is pulling. And a lot of times when I'm creating a report that I think might be new for a customer or for us internally here at Neo Systems, I hate reinventing the wheel. So I always come out to the standard report section to see what standard reports are out here that could either solve my immediate need or be used as a baseline for then me to either add additional filters and queries associated with it to get the data that I'm ultimately looking for. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Jordan, if you can hit your back button one more time, internal. Perfect. Okay. So I talked about a lot about where to archive some reports. Now, if you are wanting to create reports and put them out in a public domain, the ZZ Company folder, this is your starting point for where your organization's reports will live. So Jordan, if you go ahead and click on ZZ Company folder, and you can see 98 Ventures is listed there. So this is 98's folder. Go ahead and go out. Click on UltiPro. And so here's where you're going to be able to create additional folders and archive all of your public reports if you want them out here. There are report folders that have already been built as part of the implementation process, but you can easily go out and create additional folders based on HR, benefits, payroll, compensation, talent, what have you, to archive those additional reports that may need to be subsequently built for your organization. You're able to, it operates just like a regular C drive, where you create that folder and archive your report as needed out there. These are, again, our public folders. So what that means is anybody that does have access to BI within your organization can navigate out here and see those reports. What BI will honor is any restrictions that may exist to the employee's profile from core. So what I mean by that is, let's say a user is only allowed to see departments A, B, and C out of, let's say, 26 departments. So when that user builds a report and runs the report, they will only be able to query off the employee population that they have access to. So if they don't have access to salary information, they will not be able to run salary information. If they are not able to see private information on the employee record, social security, date of birth, ethnicity, gender, etc., they will not be able to query off of it. They will see the data item itself in the folder structure, but when they query off of it, the data item will be blank because they don't have access to see that in core. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Any questions? Am I moving too fast? Moving just at the right speed?
I think we're at a great speed.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. So does that make sense on team content and how that works? I'm assuming the answer will be yes. So if there are no questions, let's move on to that recent tab. So this recent tab correlates directly to the reports that you're seeing on that front dashboard. Jordan, in your case, you've played with a couple reports recently. There's 3 of them that you've run most recently, and so your recent tab and your homepage mirror one another. I always recommend, if you're working with a report and you want to go back to it, that you pull it up from the recent section. Don't pull it up from the recent tab that we have navigating here, not from your homepage. The reason why I advocate that is sometimes what is out on your homepage may not necessarily be the most recent version if you've saved that report a few times, or is going out to your recent section, or going back out to where you have that report actually housed in the public folder section or in your private folder section is really the way to go. Okay. In terms of navigation with BI, is there anything that seems confusing that you don't understand? Okay, hearing none. So before we go in and I show you how to do a very basic report, one last thing I want to show you on this homepage is in the upper right-hand corner, you will see a little avatar, a little person that, yep, exactly. Go ahead and click on this. And let's go through some of these data points. This is Jordan, what we're going to be looking at is your profile, your settings, things of that nature. If you always want a report to be run in Excel, we can go ahead and create that as a preference. So go ahead and click under My Preferences. And so your homepage will default to the most recent. Your report format, right now it is currently set to HTML, but you can change that. And you can change that to either PDF, CSV, Excel, Excel data, or XML. I traditionally like the Excel as my main output. The difference between the Excel and the Excel data is it comes down to one thing. The Excel data is a little bit more compressed when it exports, and there is no colored header on your reports. When you run it in Excel, Cognos will throw a nice little blue banner on your header records, and it just adds a little bit of color and variation for you. Okay. If you want to see hints as you're navigating through this product, I recommend that you have that turned on. The time zone is always going to be defaulted to UKG's East Coast set of operations. You can change that. So if you need to have a date timestamp that is reflected for an export report that needs to run on a West Coast schedule, you can come into your time zone preferences and update that. Your product language is always set to English. Your content language is always set to language as well. And I'm really not sure what the bi-directional language support is. I've not personally run into that before. So that is one of those things that I don't change. But right now, what we have done is we've updated your profile, Jordan, so that anytime you run a report now, it's going to drop it in as an Excel document, which I personally think is a lot more easy to navigate with as opposed to a PDF, a CSV, or the HTML. Okay. Go ahead and click under the Personal tab under My Preferences, and then the email that's associated with your account is an actual personal Gmail account. Is that correct, and not a corporate email address?
I would like it to be my work email address, so I can change that here.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. And then click under your advanced. And then your credentials will automatically renew. That's fine. Group and roles. My capabilities. No, these are all. I traditionally don't make any changes to these within myself or any of my client groups, so those are fine. And as soon as you click out of this, everything will automatically save. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so let's go ahead and build a very quick report. So the way to build a report is you're going to come down to the left-hand side and you click on the new. And I just want you to hover over that for a minute. Okay, so one thing, Jessica, if you could make sure that everybody on this call gets the browser compatibility guide, because it looks like, Jordan, you're using Chrome, correct?
Correct.
Firefox tends to be a little bit more stable of a browser with this product, and this also, Firefox also allows you to go ahead and use BI's Event Studio. Event Studio is a tool in which you are able to create notifications based on a transaction that occurs to an employee's record from either an HR payroll perspective over on the core side of things. And Jordan, if you had logged in via Firefox, and I'm not asking you to change the browser right now, but if you would log in via Firefox, over on the left-hand side where you see the job report and URL, you would see another icon out there that is called Event. And the reason why you're not seeing it here is, again, it comes down to that browser capability. Event Studio is not supported within Chrome. So Jessica, we'll get everybody on this call the browser capability guide that UKG pushes out every 2 times a year as they go through their quarterly updates. And then that'll illustrate what modules of the product are best supported on the various browsers. It ranges from Chrome to Internet Explorer to Firefox. And I think those are the 3 main ones. And since Internet Explorer has been sunset, it's really now down to, oh, I'm sorry, it's Edge, not Internet Explorer. It's Edge, Firefox, and Chrome are the 3 main browsers. So to go ahead and create a new report, you'll click on New and then click on Report. Okay. So here you're telling the system, okay, do you want to create a template or a theme, and do you want this to be a blank or a blank and active report? I have learned the hard way that I always select the blank report and then hit OK. If you hit that blank archive active report, it'll create a template for you. And when you try to run the report, it will actually not run. And you have to rebuild your report under the blank. So just always go with your first option here of go with blank and then hit OK. Okay, so on this screen, what you're being presented with are 2 fields of navigation. You have the left-hand side where it says select a source. We're going to come back to that in a minute. And then you have a middle section where you're actually going to build your report. So Jordan, go ahead and click on that plus sign for me. So you can build up multiple types of reports. You can build a list fashion, across a visual, a text item, a block, or a table. 95% of the time, you and your users will be working with a list or a crosstab function. So let's go ahead and click on list for me and hit OK. And so what you've done now, Jordan, is you've told the system, okay, I'm going to create a list, and now the system will know how to when you start dragging your data items over, it'll start putting it into the correct format from a list perspective. Now let's go ahead and select a source. So anytime you're working with BI, you have to select a source. So the source is the package. That's why I spent a lot of time earlier this morning talking about those packages and how they should be used. So go under UltraPro BI content, Core HR and Payroll, and then go to your delivered packages. And I want you to select your My Employee package for me, please. And then now hit open. Perfect. And now you should see it over on the left-hand side, it now has updated to that specific package. I need to pause for a minute and ask a question, Jordan, because we're now going to start playing with potential employee data. Are there any concerns with the users that are on this call not seeing certain individuals and their data?
No.
Everybody can see, everybody is free and clear to see all data points, correct?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I always like to know what I'm operating with and not have you go down and showing confidential information
Yeah.
that they should
Thank
not
you.
be seeing. Okay, so now we can start building our report. And to pull the data items over on the employee packages, you see two major folders. You see the My Employee and then the package version. The package version is all that to tell you is just some very basic information about when this package was created, when it was last updated. 99% of the time, your users and yourself will not go into this section. You're going to be going under the My Employee section. So go ahead and click on that. I want you to pause. And so under this folder, you're going to see some primary demographic information associated with the employee record. You're seeing the employee email, the company information, their name, their employee ID, some very basic job information, the organizational level, whether it be if you're using all org levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, or you're using subsequent data points, those will be out here. Scroll down a little bit more for me, Jordan. Now you're going to see some other folders out here. And this is the part that I was mentioning earlier, where it'll mirror that setup of the employee's record in Ultipro. So anytime you open up an employee's record and you don't have any restrictions associated with your role with it, you will see a tab called Personal. You'll see a tab called Jobs. You'll see career and education, career development, pay, benefits, training, employee documents, right? Does that look familiar to you, Jordan?
It does. So is this, did you say that it is based on who or what you have access to?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say you have a user that's on this call and they are only allowed to see one item on an employee record on the personal tab. They will still see these other folders listed here in BI. But if they try to query the data from a job folder and they don't have access, it will not query for them.
Gotcha. Makes
Makes
sense.
sense? Okay. And so anytime I'm working with reports, I always have pretty much 2 or 3 main criteria that are absolute must-haves in my world that I bring into all my report. And I approach it from the standpoint of, okay, if I need to use this report subsequently, these data points are really going to be key identifiers to really help make my life a little easier. And those identifiers are the company code, the employee number and or social security number, and the employee name themselves. So to bring those data items over, you can do one of two things. You can either double click on the data item. So go ahead and click on double click on company code, perfect. Or you can click on it and drag it. So in the next example that I want you to do is go ahead and drag right next to company code the employee number. Perfect. And you did something that is going to cause an error, and I'm glad you did that. So I want you to actually delete your employee number, and you can just hit your delete button on your keyboard. Perfect. And I want you to put your cursor back into where you see that plus sign, and I want you to hit delete again. Or cut. Can you delete the column? Now, see, this will be a true eye test for everybody this morning. So see how you have company code and then there is a dotted box around it, and there is some space on either the left or right-hand side. When you drag a data item over, you want it to be within that dotted box because it'll be added into that specific query. So Jordan, if you can grab the employee number again and make sure when you drag it over, put your cursor very close to look a little bit more to the left, a little bit to the right, I mean, to the top. A little bit to the left. Oh, it's not working. Actually, put your release control put your, hover your cursor and highlight company code. Do the second company code, sorry, in the text. Perfect, okay. Now double click on your employee number. Perfect. Now see how it's all being grouped together within that same category or in that same box? That's what you want. You don't want to have two sets of data items that are in two independent queries. Right now, they're all being tied together in the same query. So let's go ahead and just we'll continue with the double click option and go ahead and add your employee name. Perfect. And let's go ahead and add your employee status. Now you can either, so in UKG Pro, most data items have two elements. They have a code and then they have a description. So what you've done right now is you brought over the long description for the employee status. Sometimes that's great. Other times you might want to pull over the code. Codes tend to be a lot easier to work with and apply filters and or other data items from a from a join or a union perspective compared to the long description. The codes never will contain a space or a special character, whereas your descriptions could contain spaces and special characters. And as you're trying to filter and or do joins or unions, you will have to take into account those spaces and special characters. Whereas with the code, it is alphanumeric and they run anywhere from as little as 3 digits all the way up to 8 digits, depending on the data item itself. So what I would like you to do is go ahead and double click and bring over the status code. And now what I want to show you how to add a filter. So let's say we only want to query your active and employees that are on leave. So to add a filter, you can double click on where it says employee status code. And hit cancel on this. And I want you to go in your little toolbar section, and it's going to be right above the word company code. You'll see like a little funnel. Perfect. Yep. And go ahead and create and filter. So what this will do is, because you selected the data item of code, it'll pull the various codes for you to then select, and you can either include them or you could exclude. So let's say you don't want to include your terms, you could always change where it says keep these values. There's a little drop-down arrow where you can say exclude these items. So go ahead and click on exclude in this case. And let's get rid of the leave and active and move your term over. And so now you're excluding all terms. So what I'm just showing you is two ways to get to the same end result. You can either include all your active and leave, or you can exclude your terms. But this is how you create a very basic filter in the system. So hit OK. And now you're able to go in and add more data points, and the data points that you're able to add, you're able to select from the left-hand side and from the various folder structures. So what I just wanted to show you today was how to create a very baseline report, how it operates, how you can add some filters to it. And now to run this report, you're going to go up in the upper left-hand corner, and you're going to hit the little play button. Yep, hit play, and run Excel. And because like we updated your profile, Jordan, to export as Excel, it'll always export to Excel for you. And here is your report. So you can see there's your employee number, the company code, the employee name, their overall status, and their status code. Okay. Pretty straightforward so far, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and close this out. Now, if you want to save this report, you go up to where the little disk is and do the little drop-down arrow. Perfect. And now you can save this So right now, anytime you default to saving, it's going to default to the package area because that's what you selected. You never want to save a file out to the package section. You're going to want to save it into either one of two areas. What were those two areas that I mentioned on the call earlier?
My content or
And
My content and team content?
exactly, perfect. So to save it to the my content section, you're going to click on the little folder that does not have a avatar associated with it. Perfect. And so then you could save it out here. You'll call it whatever you want to name it. But if you want to save it out in the public section, you're going to click on the folder that has the avatar. And again, this is showing all your package information. So you're going to do a little bit of backing out here. So hit your internal back arrow. You're going to do that a couple times because you want to save it under the ZZ company folder section. So right now you're under team content. So back out a little bit more. Click on where it says BI, UltraPro BI content. Yeah. Perfect. And then click on team content. Perfect. Now click on your company folder down at the bottom there. 98 Ventures. Yep. UltraPro. And then if you had a folder out here for like HR, payroll, benefits, what have you, you can drill down and save it into that folder. Or if this is going to be a file that is used amongst the larger group, you can just save it right out into the main folder section. And you just save it by creating a name for it and then doing hitting the save